Hello and welcome to another episode of Lincoln Visits in the AOI Podcast Studio. My name is Clay Simpson. I'm a sales development manager with Visit Lincoln, and I'm joined in the studio today by Jake Thiessen. He's the owner, executive chef, and the master of all things culinary at the Hub Cafe right here in downtown Lincoln. So, Jake, we're so excited to have you in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to go all the way back with you. I want to kind of go back to when the idea for the Hub Cafe kind of started and what went into opening the Hub and everything that's come with that so far. So take us all the way back to when that idea came in and kind of what the process was of getting that up and going.
Yeah, well, I came on to Hub Cafe in 2016, and I started as the breakfast sous chef, and the place hadn't opened yet. And they brought me in to help build stuff before it even opened. So I got to see it in the very beginning when the idea was just coming about. And it had been around for a couple of years. And so it was the Branched Oak Farm. They're a local dairy farm. They kind of stopped operation a couple of years ago, but their idea was to create a farm-based cafe that showcased local products from the Lincoln area, and they wanted to have something on the farm that didn't pan out. But when the space at 21st and Q Street came available, they were the perfect fit. They had roots in Lincoln. They come from a banking family from Cornhusker Bank, and it was just a perfect fit. So, they had the idea of it being about local food, the community, and the bike trails, which we are at the cusp of. So, yeah, it really, from there, it became a staple of the local community, and our breakfast really took hold.
Yeah.
So that's what we do mainly now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And the Hub, the location that it's at, in conjunction with the Great Plains Trail Network and their building next door. Was that always the case? Did one come first and the second? Or
that whole building was built together, and one part is the cafe, which sat empty initially when they built it. I think it was 2010. So the whole building is called the Active Living Center. It has 3 units. The upstairs unit is the Community Health Endowment. They do great things for the community, with health related grants and that kind of thing. But the cafe, that's a private entity, and was meant to be bought and built for that purpose. But to the south is the Jane Snyder Trails Center, and that was ran by the city, by Parks and Rec, for a number of years. They rented it out, but in 2020 the original owner took that over with a lease and has been promoting that. They built a patio on that, and now we host farmers markets on Wednesdays there. We have Hub and Soul, which started in 2019. That's a whole another ball game with all those events out there.
Yeah. And in your experience and some of the background that you had before you came to the Hub, how has that transitioned to what you're doing now at the Hub, and the partnerships that you've been able to leverage from that as well?
Yeah, I come from a farming family, and also I grew up with lots of home cooked meals from the farm and from our vegetable garden. So I got to know my place in that whole farm to fork aspect early on. I saw where the food comes from, and I'd always wanted to be part of something that was bigger, some sort of mission. And so the mission of Hub Cafe is to really heighten the ingredients that we can get from local farmers and showcase them in the best way possible with chef-driven dishes. I came to Lincoln to work at my cousin's bakery in 2011. So I'd been there for 4 years before I went to work at Hub Cafe, and it was a great background for me, learning how to bake, all of the production aspects of that.
Yeah.
So I had a good relationship with some of the farmers that we knew already from working with the bakery. So it was, I felt like I was a good fit for that.
Yeah. That sounds like, just a seamless transition into what you guys are doing now.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of those other things that the Hub Cafe has expanded out to. Most people, they think of it as a fantastic place to go get breakfast and stuff like that. But you alluded to the farmers market and the Hub and Soul series, and the Holiday Hub, which is kind of the new and upcoming one that you guys have started in the last couple of years. Where have those events and things kind of evolved from? And what was the idea behind putting on some of those additional events to put you guys out there in the community as just not a place to go get breakfast, but offering so much more other than that as well?
It's really just our emphasis on being there for the community, having these events that can highlight that area, because it was a pretty underdeveloped area when we got there. Like that Union Plaza Park is a gem, like right in that area, that it has some good aspects that are changing. In the last 10 years, there's been a lot of good development. But the farmers market, for one, we, have worked with community crops in the past to accept SNAP bucks, food stamps, to be a conduit for people to come and get actual produce from a market. So we're really focused on the producers, and with Hub and Soul, this started in 2018, Crystal? Yeah, 2018. And in 2018, we started the Hub and Soul music series. That's our partnership with, it started with the Lincoln Parks Foundation. That was our first nonprofit beneficiary. We always raise money for a nonprofit with Hub and Soul. And in the past, it's been Great Plains Trails Network, which does a lot of great work developing the trails system that we benefit from, being at the hub of the bicycle trails. And also the Lincoln Parks Foundation, which, they've done such great work and, help to maintain and develop all these great outdoor spaces that we have in Lincoln. So our, being in that park and benefiting from it is great, but we really try to give back to that and make it the best that it is, and not just be the ice cream shop on the corner.
Yeah. Going back to specifically the farmers market, do you guys see any of the local farmers and stuff like that you guys partner with at the hub? Do they also participate in the farmers market as well, or is that different vendors that you guys are getting at the farmers market? How does that look?
Vendors are, farmers in Lincoln have different volumes. A lot of farmers can only sell to the market, and they're doing small volume. It's just enough to pay the bills over the season. But some of these farms are large enough scale that they're producing for more markets and actual restaurants. And so we buy a lot of cheese from Shadowbrook Farm, Dutch Girl Creamery, and they also have seasonal vegetables, lots of volume, so we buy a lot from them. Petrarch's Produce, there's another one that they do so much volume that they're selling to restaurants all over. And so, yeah, there's several vendors who we try to buy from all the time. And then some of these vendors, they'll have something. They'll have a small batch, and then, we'll get that from them. So, it's a variety. There's some places that only sell some baked goods or some pickles and things like that. But we always try this market to be very producer-based. So you can buy something that you're going to use in your meal the next day. Oh,
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And it kind of leads into the next thing that I wanted to get some insight on, is just that farm to fork process. That's a unique thing, and especially in the restaurant industry, and what you guys are trying to do just to highlight those producers is huge. And just knowing where your food is coming from, right? Like it's a cool aspect of what you guys do. Can you give insight into that, and then like what that looks like, and what it takes to contact the farm, and then for them to become a regular producer of what you guys are putting out on someone's plate?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough that we've been around long enough that when farmers are ready to sell, they call me. and they know about us, and if there's anybody who really wants to get into farming and they want to sell a lot of product, they can contact us at any time. And I want to put that out there too, that we're open to any and all local farmers who want to sell, because it's all about the democracy of the food community, that we can showcase the people who really need to be sustained by sales, because it's hard. This I've seen so many farmers come and go. And I feel like sometimes I'm like, I really need to buy from these guys on a consistent level to make sure that I'm going to get it the next time.
Yeah.
That, I'm finding things on my menu that I can highlight for them and continue to sell. That way I can keep buying. Or else if you're just buying every once in a while from these guys, they have no reason to sell to you.
Right. I mean, it's like any other sales.
Right.
And you need that consistency, and especially if they're giving you a good product.
Yeah.
You want to go back time and time again.
Yeah.
How far out from Lincoln do you guys look to source with the people that you're working with?
We have expanded out as far into Iowa.
Okay.
And we try to, give first pick to the people around here. We really want, this community to thrive. The mayor has also had her 2 cents in on this. The local food council that she's created, we've had a lot of good discussions about what it takes to, have food security in Lincoln. And a lot of that stems from having local producers have the resources to be able to, do their processes, a processing facility that would be co-opted through the city, and also, being able to sell local produce to LPS and things like that. I think I digress in this, but I think, having those conduits is really, really what it takes to help this local food community thrive. But in that aspect, I think the Midwest, and as little distance as you can get from your producers, is the best. And if there's good products just across the river, I'm going to buy those.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, just cool to hear you talk about the connections that you guys can make within the city because of food, and the way that you guys can kind of showcase what you can do by working with local producers and everything like that. That's really cool. Obviously, at Visit Lincoln, we are focused on the visitor experience. People that are coming to town, maybe they've never been to Lincoln. As a visitor, if I'm coming to town and I want a top-notch breakfast experience, not just, again, a plate in front of me, but the whole experience, what's setting my experience apart at the Hub Cafe?
Well, you walk in and you've got great smiling faces, the friendliest servers in Lincoln. Our staff is so nice, and we've got a very bright and welcoming environment. Have an amazing mural on our facing wall when you walk in. It's got a meadowlark looking right at you.
Yep.
And that was done by a artist from Arizona named Kayla Noonan. She was doing a mural in all 50 states.
Oh, cool.
So that's what you can see when you first walk in, and all the smells. We have an open kitchen, and it's all the good baked goods and everything coming in. If that bothers you, I'm sorry. But and then you can walk straight through, and we have a beautiful south-facing patio that looks over the creek. It used to see Lincoln High, but now they built some apartments over there, which is great. And just nice vibes, good music, and just a cheerful place to be. I think that, the experience in the cafe, and also on the best patio in Lincoln, I think, it really sets that. Yeah.
And I mean, with that open kitchen that you talked about, do you get the chance, obviously super busy back there with actually cooking the food, but do you get the chance to interact with the customers more than you might in a different kitchen setup, or what does that look like?
I'm not a good server when I'm cooking.
Okay.
So I try to either be in the back or in the front.
Got it.
So I, if I see a regular, I'll shout out, but I'm always pretty focused. I try to, really lean on my front of house people to be the people up there. But if you stop in and say hi, I'll wave at you.
I love it. I love it. Thinking about, just the culinary experience. Obviously, I'm not a chef. When I think of something at home to make from scratch, I just mostly open my cupboard and see what I've got and what I can make. When you think about putting maybe something new on the menu, what goes into a new dish, a new meal? And do you have a favorite that you've made in the past that you came up with from start to finish?
I love all food from all cultures. You know, those are the interesting things. I grew up in the Midwest. You know, we've got Mexican food on the you know, a little bit. It's there. But when I started to travel, I just became so enamored with those cuisines. And it's like, I'll focus on one aspect of an Indian cuisine, or, you know, something from Thailand, and then I'll try to figure out what ingredients that I can source for that. And usually it turns out pretty similar, but sometimes you have to get creative.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I really enjoy, is trying to figure out, okay, so I want to use this ingredient to go into this.
Yeah.
Like one of our signature dishes is chicken bulgogi tacos. And I loved Asian food. I lived in Japan for 3 years. I traveled around Asia quite a bit. And I just love those flavors, you know, all of the kimchi and the spices and the sour notes that you get from those things. So what we did is we took that idea of that really spicy chicken and kimchi and, you know, kind of a sunny side up egg, so you could get that yolk drag into all your stuff, and we made it into tacos. So it's really nice.
That
like
sounds
that.
amazing. Do you find that it's the physical ingredients or the spices that make the biggest difference? I
think it's really the physical ingredients that's the base for what you do. Sometimes, you know, the spice can get overdone. Yeah. I think people try to cover things up with spice sometimes, when the process of making your food is really about how fresh it is. You know, where it comes from is important. So it's always that first, and then you can put the accoutrement in there and make it, you know, as snazzy and interesting as you want to. But
no, you've probably had just so many different experiments and things that you've loved, things that probably you're like, I don't know if I'll put that back on the menu. Oh, that's fantastic. Last question, and something I think is fun, just to kind of wrap it up with one last question. Let's say there's a huge celebrity event in Lincoln, and they choose to come to the Hub Cafe, and you get to pick who comes. What celebrity are you serving, and what are you feeding them?
Gosh, I love comedians. I think they're the most brilliant people on the planet. And one of my favorites, he's been my favorite since I was a little kid, is Conan O'Brien.
Okay.
I love what he stands for. He's just a good, upstanding guy. And I saw his episode of Hot Ones. Have you ever seen Hot Ones?
I have not, but I know what it is. Yes.
It's like a hot sauce challenging show. And that guy, he drank a bottle of hot sauce, and he obviously doesn't look like he can. So I would serve him my spiciest hot sauce with eggs.
I love it. I love it. That'd be an experience. You'd get people standing at the windows to watch that happen.
Watch Conan's face turn bright red,
absolutely,
like his hair.
Absolutely. Well, Jake, thanks so much for joining us in the AOI Podcast Studio and just giving us a behind-the-scenes look of what is happening at truly a gem in our community. And we have a saying around our office and at Visit Lincoln that it's the people that make the place, and that seems very apparent at what you guys are doing, and just the staff that you guys have, what's happening behind the kitchen, and everything like that. So we just really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for our community. You can check out all the events that are happening at the Hub Cafe at our website, as well as the Hub Cafe's website. Our website is www.lincoln.org. You can check out events that are happening there, as well as all others that are happening in our community, and we will see you next time.